Hi, I'm Jackie, and welcome back to My Magical Home, your place for all kinds of creative homemaking content. Now, today's video, I'm going to be taking you along with me as we create a hauntingly beautiful crow's cage, of course. Now, I think this is going to be the perfect addition to my home this year for the Halloween season, but it also is something that could be really great if you have that witchy vibe in your home, or if you're into dark academia or dark cottagecore decor as well. But anyways, let's get started. This is a cage that we're going to be using today, and I apologize for not getting a better before picture of it. I was so excited to get started, I forgot. The cage that we're going to be using today is one that I found on clearance at Michael's, and thank goodness, because when I originally decided I wanted to start this project, I don't think I had any idea how expensive that these cages ran. It was originally $59.99, and thanks to clearance as well as a coupon that I had on hand, I was able to get it for $12.99. Now, we're going to need to be painting it black, obviously, but I think that it is going to be the perfect addition for this craft. And if you guys are interested in buying one like it, this one is unfortunately sold out at Michael's, but they do have other ones on clearance for somewhere around the same price. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other options in other places as well. In order to bring in those dark, spooky vibes, I knew the first thing I needed to do was paint my cage black. My tips to you if you want to do this at home would be take it slow. Do short bursts of paint in small layers, let it dry, and come back and just keep reapplying until everything is covered. If you try to do it in one shot, you'll be more likely to have drips. And if you do it this way, it will leave you with a well-covered, professional-looking paint job. Another tip to give you is worry about the inside of the cage last. I found I covered a lot of the inside coating the outside of the cage already. I am obviously not going to make you watch me paint all of this entire cage. It did take me a good deal of time coming back again and again to ensure that everything was properly covered. So we are just going to zoom ahead to when it is all dry and ready to go. Doesn't that black color look so nice? I am already pleased with the way this is going. I already picked a crow out when I hit up a Michael's earlier in the season, so I knew that the next important thing that we were going to need for this craft was to head out to one of my favorite places in Arizona, the Sitgreaves National Forest. I'm lucky to say this utopia is only located about an hour from my home, and it is truly magical to behold. I did only get vertical footage of this adventure, and I apologize, I wasn't thinking. But as I walked through the forest, I was just engulfed with the sound of elks bugling, and most often I was blanketed in a gentle rain, and it was absolute heaven. I went up with my Hope as well as her friend Brandon, who's total delight, and we took a picnic. It was a really fun adventure, and I can't wait to go back. This is a really cool little twisted stick that I found up in the mountains, and I think it is going to be a great stand for the stuffed crow that I picked up earlier this season from Michael's. So excited that I was able to find this stick out in nature and bring it into my home. I also wanted to make sure I wasn't bringing any buggy friends with me. So I looked online, and the suggested thing to do was put it into the oven for 30 minutes at 250 degrees. Now, I learned two things from this. Number one, my house smelled like the deep forest, you guys. Like, I was there, I was in it. It was amazing, absolutely stunning. I mean, if candle companies could capture that smell, they'd be making zillions of dollars. I mean, they are, but they'd be making even more. And so that was one thing, but the other I noticed, it made all of the sap inside of this old stick I had found bubble up to the surface and kind of like leak out of it. I actually joked to my husband that I made the stick bleed because that's the way that it looked. Now, in reality, this really wasn't a problem for me. The sap actually wasn't sticky for some reason after coming out of the oven, but it did change the look and texture of my stick a little bit. So I wanted to make sure that you guys knew this so that you were prepared for that going in, and you can make your decision if you want to do that extra step. I started by sawing the end of the stick to create a flat base for me to glue to the bottom of the cage. I glued this using both Gorilla Glue and hot glue, and that was because I figured the hot glue would help me to secure the stick long enough to let the super glue dry, and that's truly what's going to be holding this stick up. I did end up needing a couple support pieces to help hold this up while it dried, so I used a piece of floral foam to hold up the end of the stick and put it in position, as well as a bag of rice on top to ensure the stick was pressed firmly to the bottom of the cage. And I left this to dry for about 12 hours, and with a little luck, it worked like a charm. So the next day after my stick had dried and I knew that it was completely secure, I did come back and hit that one more time with glue, by the way. I knew that it was time to start adding all of the fun details. So I have some ferns that I picked up from Michael's that we're going to add. We're also going to be bringing in some green moss as well as some Spanish moss, and as well as a couple of really cute little crystals as well, just to kind of bring in those good vibes. I picked up these ferns from Michael's and they came in a pack, and I just separated a couple of them off. Some of them I let be taller and some I trimmed to different heights. I made sure to leave about 2 inches of wire at the end of my ferns, which I bent and used to glue them to the base of the cage. I didn't want to add too many ferns, so I kept it at 4 and decided to start covering the bottom of the rest of the base with green moss. I then followed up with just a small bit of Spanish moss. I felt the color added some dimension and depth to the greenery in this. And of course, just a tiny bit of that green moss onto our stick to just make it look like it's starting to grow up ever so slightly. I then took a couple of those pieces I cut off of that fern earlier, and I glued them around the base of the front ferns to hopefully give a little bit of new growth look. Just a heads up, this project did leave a mossy mess, so make sure that you are doing it in a place that is easy to clean up. I'm absolutely loving the way that the base of this is turning out. I really feel like it's bringing in like a piece of the forest with it. You know, it kind of makes it look like you just captured a little bit of time with that stick and brought it forward into your decor. And so that's bringing me a ton of joy. I do have 2 crystals we're going to add, and then it's time to bring out my little crow. This is a piece of red jasper that I found hiking around our local area, and I thought that red would add a nice pop of color when you were looking at this piece. Now we're going to be adding a very pretty piece of clear quartz. This is one I've had for a very long time, and I absolutely love it because if you hold it up with the light, you can even see rainbows at certain angles. And I decided to add these to my crow's cage in order to bring in some good vibes and energy. I mean, why not multitask with your decor, right? This is my crow. Isn't he just lovely? I decided to name him Caden in honor of the crow from the Practical Magic series. Now I just bent his toes a little bit so that they would kind of mold to the stick and look like he was trying to stay there more realistically. And then I just added a small bead of hot glue to the bottom of his feet and placed him on his stick, of course. This is my finished piece, and I haven't decided if I want to add a puck light and kind of use like something to hold it up at the top of the cage so it shines down on him, making him stand out. But I really couldn't decide, and I was curious, what do you guys think? Will you guys let me know in the comments down below? I'm absolutely in love with the way that this project turned out, and I think it's going to be the perfect addition on top of my pantry with that butterfly cloche that we made last week. If you missed that video, I will have it linked down below. But most importantly, I can't wait to hear what you think about today's project. Don't forget to let me know in the comments. This is where I'm going to end up closing out today's video, and I just hope that you have an absolutely magical day, my friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. See you next time.